Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the New York Congresswoman, maybe Democratic Senate candidate in 2028, maybe Democratic presidential candidate in 2028, was in Munich, Germany over the weekend, and she committed a gaffe about foreign policy. And it became a massive deal on the Republican right. And I debated back and forth about whether to make a video on this, because it happened over the weekend and I wasn't sure, but you know what? Like, I think it's actually important to highlight this I have 4 reasons why I think it kind of mattered. And I think it's a telling indicator, not just about AOC and where she is, but also about where the Democratic Party is and where the Republican Party is. So I want to go through all of that. The first thing I want to do is, for people who are not familiar, AOC was at this thing called the Munich Security Conference, which is effectively like a place that policymakers and elected officials go to where they talk about big thoughts and, where does America fit in the world? What does the world think of America? Geopolitics. It's where you go if you're interested in people taking you, quote unquote, seriously as a potential national candidate. She was on a panel with Gretchen Whitmer, the governor of Michigan, who also might run for president. And in that, she gets asked a question about what the U.S. reaction should be if China invades Taiwan. And let me just give you a part of her answer. Okay. Quoting, I think that this is a very long-standing policy of the United States. I mean, and I'm directly quoting there. I will put a link to it so you can watch it yourself. She recovered a little bit there, but she clearly didn't either know enough about the question to answer it well, or didn't feel comfortable, or like whatever. Either way, it wasn't good. Okay, so that's that. And then I want to talk about the reaction, which is its own separate thing. Before I get to that, I want to ask you to subscribe to this channel for 3 simple reasons. 1, I'm independent of big media and the 2 political parties. 2, I'm authentic. I'll always tell it how it is. 3, I'm here daily. I'm breaking down the news. So if you want to follow, I hope you do. Hit that subscribe button. Okay, so AOC makes this flub. It is clearly a flub, okay? The reaction on the right, particularly on social media, is massive. I mean, thousands of retweets, thousands of, look how incompetent she is. She doesn't know what the hell she's talking about, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Even it gets all the way to JD Vance, the vice president of the United States, who's very online. He is asked about AOC's answer during an interview earlier this week. I think it was Monday night, during an interview, Tuesday, an interview with Martha McCallum of Fox News. He says this about AOC, quote, "Look, that was embarrassing. If I had given that answer, I would say, you know what? Maybe I go read a book about China and Taiwan before I go out on the world stage again. I hope that Congresswoman Cortez has the same humility, but I'm skeptical." Okay. So I have 4 thoughts about this, broadly speaking. Thought 1, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez generates an amount of attention, interest, hate. I don't know. That might be too strong a word on the right that almost no one that I've seen since Barack Obama, maybe Hillary Clinton, does. People on the right are very invested in highlighting anything that she screws up. Some of this is because she is very liberal, right? She's a democratic socialist. She's unapologetic about that. She is young. She is kind of quite confident. She is seen as a rising star within the Democratic Party. She's a woman, whatever you want to put on that. There's just no question that her AOC creates a Pavlovian response among Republicans, especially Republicans online. They are drawn to her. They love when she screws up, et cetera, et cetera. Point 2, and I mentioned this, but I'm going to say it again. Any attempt to say that this wasn't a legit screw up by AOC is ridiculous. She clearly screwed this up. And in fact, she knew she screwed up because even while she was still in Germany, she called the New York Times, a reporter at the New York Times, to make her case for what people were misunderstanding. She said, that the online attention, quote, distracts from the substance of what I am saying. And what she was saying was like an argument, I think, broadly for economic populism worldwide, that too many rich old white guys were still running things and they didn't get it. But like, yeah, if you screw up like that on the national stage or the international stage, and you're someone who is seen as a potential front runner to be the Democratic nominee in 2028, you're going to get a lot of attention. So don't let the left convince you that this is just the right saying that AOC is bad. Okay, like this was a legitimate screw up. Now, if Gretchen Whitmer had said this, or if Josh Shapiro had said this, would it be as big a deal? No, but that gets to my thought number one, which is AOC is like catnip for the online right. Okay, so point one, AOC is catnip for the right. Point two, this was a legitimate screw up by her. Point three, while I'm sure she and her team would have preferred her not to do it, I'm not totally convinced this is the worst thing in the world for her. Yes, it allows Republicans to dunk on her online. No question. And there's been a lot of that. At the same time, messing something like this up in February 2025 is a lot less destructive than messing it up in, let's say, February 2027 if you're running for president, right? She has a learning curve. She had never run for anything before she upset Joe Crowley in a primary in 2018, I believe, a Democratic primary. She has never really been on the world stage, right? She represents a very Democratic district in a very Democratic state of New York. This is a significant step upward for her. Now, I think she, whether you like her or not, she's a pretty good natural political athlete. But you're going to have screw-ups like this, even if you are a gifted natural political athlete. The issue is, do you learn from them? Do you make the same mistake twice? While JD Vance is being condescending about, like, she should go read a book, he's not wrong that what AOC should do the rest of this year is study up on foreign policy, right? Bone up on policy. She doesn't have to worry about a re-election race. She's getting reelected. Bone up on policy, because whether she runs for the Senate in 2028 or president in 2028, you're going to need to know more foreign policy than you do as a member of a very Democratic district in New York. So I think getting a big error out of the way now isn't terrible, to be totally honest. That's my thought three. Thought four. The hypocrisy of Republicans criticizing AOC for not knowing much of foreign policy when she's running is a little much to take. So I still remember distinctly Hugh Hewitt, who is a conservative commentator. He was a moderator at one of the debates in 2016, might have been 2015 or 2016. He asked Donald Trump about the nuclear triad. Donald Trump had no idea what the nuclear triad is. I think there are some questions that Trump knew who Soleimani was. Donald Trump's knowledge of foreign policy prior to being president, you could argue even as president, is not super high. Now, I'm not arguing Donald Trump hasn't had foreign policy successes. He has. There's no question. I think it's the place where he's been the most successful, certainly in his second term. But his working knowledge of every nook and cranny of foreign policy as it relates to America is not deep. So I think Republicans, if they're being intellectually honest, need to check themselves that they don't exactly have a leg to stand on when it comes to a president who knows a ton of detailed information about foreign policy. So my thoughts, AOC is catnip for the right. She did screw this up genuinely and needs to learn from it. Number three, it's not necessarily a bad thing to screw something up a couple of years before the really bright spotlight comes on you, as long as you learn from it. And number four, Republicans don't really have a leg to stand on in criticizing a Democratic potential presidential candidate for not knowing a ton about specifics about foreign policy or flubbing an answer on foreign policy, given the guy in the White House. All right. That's it from me. I am fascinated, as people I think know, by AOC. I think she is one of the 2 or 3 Democrats with the best chance of getting the Democratic nomination come 2028 presidential nomination if she runs. So I'm going to keeping an eye on her as I do the whole 2028 field and the 2026 election, where we have the Senate majority at stake, the House majority at stake, and 36 governor's races on the ballot. I hope that's the reason you hit that subscribe button. Independent, authentic, here every single day. I also hope you like and comment on this video in particular. Helps me with the YouTube algorithm. I hope you tell a friend or two about what I'm doing here, why you think it matters. Personal validation and witnessing why you think it's important matters hugely to me growing this following. Last thing, look into my membership tab, because I've got a Diamond Club membership, which is $6.99 a month. You get 2 to 4 more videos every single week. This week, I've already posted my weekly conversation with Chuck Todd, where we talk about life, the universe, and everything. I posted a conversation I had with Rahm Emanuel, former Chicago mayor, who's going to run for president in 2028. And of course, on Friday, you'll get my worst week in Washington video, all if you're a member of the Diamond Club. Check it out under the membership tab on my channel homepage. All right, everyone, take care.